Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to deconstruct you. Don't worry, not literally. We're diving into the core components, the psychological building blocks that come together to make you, well, you. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a huge question. If you had to break down your own identity into its most basic parts, what would they be? What are the fundamental systems that create your totally unique experience of the world?
Our journey starts with what's probably the most powerful and often the most mysterious part of our inner lives. We're kicking things off with the very engine that drives our behavior, our emotions.
So what exactly is an emotion? It's so much more than just a fleeting feeling. It's this complex, motivated state that involves, well, everything. It involves your body, think about your heart racing. It involves your actions, like laughing or maybe running away. And it involves your mind, the actual personal experience of feeling happy or scared. It's what gets us moving.
You know, what's really fascinating about emotions is how they're both universal and, at the same time, deeply personal. I mean, everyone on the planet knows what joy or anger feels like, but what triggers it? That's different for everyone. A traffic jam might send one person into a rage, while for someone else, it's just a minor inconvenience. And that last point? We've all been there, right? An emotion can just explode in a second, but man, it can take forever to fade away.
This brings us to a really cool distinction. You've got your felt emotion, that's what's actually genuinely happening inside you, but then there's the displayed emotion, which is the face you show the world. A perfect example is a customer service rep who has to stay cheerful and helpful even when they're having a terrible day. What they're showing is learned, it's part of the job, and it can be a world away from what they truly feel.
And that leads us to this classic chicken or the egg puzzle in psychology. When you see something scary and your heart starts pounding, are you afraid because your heart is pounding, or is your heart pounding because you're afraid? Let's check out a couple of famous theories.
The James Lange theory has a pretty surprising take on this. It says the event triggers a physical reaction first. It's only after you notice your heart pounding and your hands getting sweaty that your brain goes, "Oh, I must be afraid." So, according to this idea, the physical reaction actually creates the emotion.
But then, the Cannon-Bard theory comes along and says, nope, not so fast. It argues that there's no sequence at all. The moment you see that lion, your brain sends out two signals at the exact same time. One signal goes to your body, causing the pounding heart, and the other goes to your mind, creating the feeling of fear. They happen in parallel, simultaneously. And then, the Schachter-Singer theory adds a really crucial piece to the puzzle. It says, okay, you've got the event, and you've got the physical reaction. But that reaction, that pounding heart, is pretty generic. What turns that general arousal into a specific emotion is what they call a cognitive label. It's your brain thinking, my heart is pounding because there's a bear in front of me, so this feeling must be fear.
So, our minds give our emotions specific labels. That's a perfect transition to our next building block, the processor itself. Let's take a look at how our thinking and our intelligence interpret the world and really shape our reality. I bet your brain is already firing away at this, trying to shuffle those letters into a word you recognize. This is just a simple example of problem solving, something your brain is doing all the time. And hey, by the way, the answer is angry, which brings us right back to our emotional engine, doesn't it?
When we're trying to solve problems, we usually lean on two different kinds of thinking. Convergent thinking is all about finding that one single correct answer, like for a multiple choice test. Divergent thinking is the opposite. It's about brainstorming and generating tons of different possibilities. Think, how many different uses can you find for a brick? We need both to be effective thinkers. And speaking of intelligence, what even determines how smart we are? This quote really nails one of the oldest debates in psychology, nature versus nurture. Are we born with a certain level of intelligence because of our genes, or is it all about how we're raised?
So who wins the big showdown between nature and nurture? Well, the answer seems to be neither. The key takeaway here is that they're not really fighting each other. They're partners. Genetics obviously play a huge role. You see that in the twin studies. But our environment, our school, our home, our nutrition has a massive say in how those genetic potentials actually play out.
All right, so we have this incredibly powerful emotional engine, and we have this complex thinking processor. But how do they combine to create a consistent, predictable, and totally unique you? Well, that's where we find the blueprint, our personality. So your personality, what is it really?
It's basically your unique character. It's the grand total of all your patterns, how you tend to react, how you interact with people. It's what makes your friends and family recognize you as you, and it gives you that steady sense of self over time.
Now, one of the most respected models for mapping out personality is what's called the Big Five. The big idea here is that we can boil down the core of someone's personality to just 5 major dimensions. And there's a handy acronym to help you remember them: OCEAN.
Now, these 5 traits aren't just boxes you're either in or out of. Think of them more like spectrums or sliders. You could be really high in openness, always seeking new things, but maybe you're low in extroversion, preferring a quiet night in. Where you land on each of these 5 scales is what creates your own unique personality profile.
Okay, let's bring it all home. We've looked at the emotional engine that drives you, the thinking processor that makes sense of your world, and the personality blueprint that makes you who you are. So, what does this all mean? How does it all come together to create, well, you?
What we've really been talking about today are the 3 essential building blocks of who you are. You've got your emotional responses, your cognitive style, and your stable personality traits. But the thing is, these systems aren't working in isolation. They're in this constant, dynamic dance with each other every single moment, creating the incredibly complex and unique person that is you.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Understanding these components, your emotional tendencies, your style of thinking, your core personality, that's the first step. But the real question is, now that you know your own unique set of building blocks, what are you going to build with them?